It's old-time hockey, the way you're supposed to play. You throw a little lumber if a guy gets in your way. You play like Gordie Howe or Eddie fucking Shore. We can't all be Gretzky, Lemieux or Bobby Orr. Hey.
We need to talk about Canada at the World Juniors. I just finished watching the gold medal game between the US and the Finns, and my God, it was a good game, competitive game. Congrats to the Finns, congrats to the US for winning their second straight gold. But where's Canada? What happened to Canada? What happened to us as the hockey power of the world? During the 90s, the early 2000s, and even the mid-2000s, we dominated the World Juniors. It would be an off year if Canada didn't win the gold, but it would be extremely odd if Canada would only win a bronze medal. But now, for the second straight year in a row, we were bounced from the medal round. And not even from the semifinals, from the quarterfinals. And I don't want to take anything away from that Czech team. They were brilliant. One of the reasons that they did win was their goalie, Michael Hrabal, who's been playing for UMass Amherst in the NCAA. And that brings me to another point, is that players who come out of the NCAA and USHL system, whether they be from the United States, Czechia, or even Canada, they seem to be better trained and better equipped to play in the NHL. Is it possible that the Canadian Hockey League is dying? Maybe because it's too expensive to play hockey in Canada? And possibly kids with all the talent in the world never make it far because their families can't afford to put them through 15 years of midget and bantam and all the other leagues that come with it. Perhaps it's time to abandon the CHL as a whole and do what the US did. Lean on colleges and universities to produce hockey talent. Perhaps with 60 teams spread across the entire Canadian Hockey League, the talent pool is too diluted, and mostly only relatives of former hockey players can afford to play in the league, thus depleting the talent pool even more. Case in point, look at our goalies for the past few years. I sit there and I struggle to name a good goalie that's come out of Canada, like a top goalie in the world in the last 10 years. And it's not all these kids' fault. It lands on the coaches. It lands on the GM picking the team. Like, why are we so beholden on the CHL to pick all the players for this team? We had 14 players from the OHL. We had 7 or 8 players from the WHL and 2 players from the Q. And we had only 1 player come from a professional team in the AHL. What happened to the days where we would have some pro players who were still of age and eligible for the tournament? Like guys like Connor Bedard and Max Celebrini, who aren't exactly setting the world on fire as number 1 picks. Why can't they be on loan from their teams to play in the tournament over the holidays? And just watching the games, it felt like I was watching a bunch of wannabe pros. Like, if Canada had the puck, they would stand in the zone and pass it around 6 or 7 times before anybody even thought about taking a shot. And usually they'd wind up, look, and then pass it off again. This isn't single A midget where everybody has to touch the puck before you can shoot. Just to be fair, this is a world-class tournament. Put the puck on the net, and if you're as good a goal scorer as you are, it's going to go in. And if your teammates are good goal scorers as you think they are, they're going to get a rebound or tip it in. It just looked like Canada was afraid to score goals. This has been their mantra for the past few tournaments. Even when they do go on to a medal round, it just seems like they're afraid to run up the score. And going into a tournament like that, you can't be afraid to produce points. The whole idea of, I don't want to run up the score to embarrass another team, do you think that team had the same talent? They would have that same mercy on you? No, they would score as many goals as they could to win a game. In short, the whole system for Hockey Canada needs to change. Maybe a model where these young players are in the OHL or the Q or the WHL for a couple of years until they're of age, and you put them into collegiate or university hockey in order to beef up those programs and give them a little more high profile. Then these kids would have a chance to, grow, get more playing time, get more skilled, and then maybe when they're 21, 22 and graduated, they can move up to the AHL or NHL. Like, I'll go back to guys like Connor Bedard and Alexis Lafreniere and even Max Celebrini. They were brought up too quickly, and it seems like they may not have been ready for NHL play. And I think the mentality of Canadian hockey fans is that we might not be the best in the world right now. We have a lot of players in the NHL, that's for sure. At least half the league is Canadian. But out of that half, maybe the better players aren't from Canada. I mean, sure, we have our Connor McDavids and our Sidney Crosbys, our Nathan McKinnons. But the rest of the world, they have guys like Alex Ovechkin, Nikita Kucherov, Leon Draisaitl, Cale Makar, Quinn Hughes, Mikko Rantanen, and Austin Matthews. Are we the best in the world anymore? That's a very debatable question. I say yes, but no. In the long term, we are always going to be a hockey powerhouse in the world. But in the short term, if you look at the past few years and just what's happening internationally, we are dropping the ball. And if we're ever to regain our past glory, things are going to have to change.
It's old time hockey.